Greetings and welcome to another show of Harmonics. Today's guest is one of my favorite musicians. Hanging out with him, just a gas. Channing Heath. Channing, what's up, brother?
Great to be here, Greg. Thanks.
Man, you know, it is really great that you're going to be here. Just relax. It's just like, this is my front room, and we're just going to hang out. We're going to talk about your life, man.
All right.
Okay? So let's go back in time and back in history with you. Tell me, you're from Ohio?
Ohio, yes.
Tell me how that all started. How did you get involved in music, your first influences? Give me a wrap on that.
One of my friends had went to a Motley Crue concert, and he was telling me all about it, and he was my wide receiver. I was actually a quarterback, more of an athlete and a jock in high school than a musician, and he just said, I want to be Tommy Lee. I'm going to be a drummer, and I want you to come be a part of my show here. So I said, okay, I guess I'll start playing some bass. And I noticed Nikki Sixx was there, and I was like, he just became my influence and started playing ever since then. Mm-hmm. First bass was a big stud Ampeg. This thing must have been 200 pounds. It just was so heavy and so big, and I was like, do I really want to do this? But it was a lot of fun to learn all this music.
So, you know what? That's interesting that you said, because you said you're an athlete, right?
Yes. And
so that's how you really, is that how you keep your stamina? I mean, you train. I seen you about a couple weeks ago, you were playing some basketball or something. That keeps you in shape?
It's been my whole passion my whole life. I just love football, basketball, volleyball, any athletics at all. It just kept me sharp in my mind and body.
So Nikki Sixx was your influence.
Yes.
Tell me about your first band.
First band that I formed was a band called Condemned. We're all teenagers. I was the oldest one at 15. Our guitar player was 13 years old, and he was just amazing at 13. Just couldn't believe this guy was this good. Probably even at 13 years old, one of the best guitar players I've ever seen in my life, and he was my influence and taught me pretty much everything I needed to know.
So how old was he?
He was 13.
13, and he was that good at 13?
I guess he was in his bedroom for like 8 years, and he did nothing else but play guitar, because this guy could play anything and everything. Yeah.
So out of all, you're talking a little bit of influence. Usually I'll ask at the end, but I'm going to do it now because we're in this. Who's your favorite band of all time and why?
It's really hard to choose a favorite band. I had so many influences, but if I had to choose one, I would have to say Pantera. Something about their music just really captures me and grabs me, and my originals kind of sound just like Pantera.
Similar to them?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. In your Ohio days, then you moved to Texas, or how did that all come about from going into Ohio? Tell me about, was it because it was cold, hot? What's the deal there?
Well, all this music thing when I started was back in the 80s, and then after I graduated high school and stuff like that, I started playing sports and stuff and athletics, and that's kind of how I made my money with a few odd and end jobs here and there. And then I moved back to Ohio, and they said, you know, you were such a good musician back in the day. Why don't you be a musician again? So I kind of dove back into the music and started doing open jam nights and stuff like that, and then it was really cool.
So when you went to Texas, were you following anybody, or what were you doing in Texas?
Well, what happened in Ohio? First, it was just so cold. I didn't like carrying all my band equipment around in the snow and stuff like that. So, you know, I can be a musician anywhere, so I'm going to go somewhere where it's nice and warm. So I went to Texas, and within 1 week, I'm already doing jam nights. Got into Interglobal Records with a band called Downside and was on a Texas tour. Didn't realize how big Texas was till you actually go out and tour it. You know, you drive 7 hours, and you just put a dent in Texas.
Really?
And that was really great.
Is it all flat as they say it is?
It's pretty flat. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you were in Texas, was there what can you recall about Texas? Were there roadhouses that you played in, or was it just?
There was multiple bars that I played at, but the main one was called the Music Vault with the band that I joined, Downside.
Okay.
They had their own club called the Music Vault, so I ran jam nights there and hired bands for the weekends also. And during that time, that's where I met my baby's mama, and she was a traveling nurse, and all of a sudden things were going really great there in Texas, and I loved it, and I did not want to move, and then she just up and goes to Redding, California. So I figured I could be a musician anywhere, but I can only be a father where my daughter's at. So went up there to Redding, and within a couple weeks, yeah, I started being Mr. Man up there, doing jam nights and forming bands, and things were really great.
So you seem to be you're an innovator in my eyes to me, because you're sort of like a planner, and you get things moving. That's why I think why I gravitated to you is you're on the spot, and you really like to have another person on the spot with you. So let's talk about the guy, the gentleman that played in Mindset.
Mindset, Mike Reisner back in Ohio.
Tell me about that.
Really, really good musician. The best vocals I've ever heard, and he just makes us sound good. We're a nice power three-piece band. Really, really good guy.
So what were you doing? What kind of music? Like you say, he was a great vocalist. What kind of music were you actually doing?
We were primarily 80s and 90s rock. Yeah.
Is he still around?
Mike's still around. He's in Ohio now.
He's in Ohio.
I'd love to have him here in California.
Do you ever keep in contact with him?
I go back to Ohio and visit family and friends yearly and stuff like that. So I see him from time to time. And definitely on Facebook, social media, you keep up with a lot of friends and musicians that you used to play with and stuff.
So let me ask you, okay, so you're from Ohio, and you did a lot of stuff in Ohio, and then you went to Texas. You talked about California. You move around a lot. And that's because your former wife or your wife or former
baby's
wife.
mama had never been married.
Okay. Your baby's mother. So you moved around a lot. Was it because of her?
Yeah, it was because of her. She was a traveling nurse, so she moved a lot. And I just feel I could be a musician anywhere, but you can only be a father where your child's at. So then after Redding, she picked up and went down to Modesto. So I moved down to Modesto area, then started doing everything around Nino's there, and then moved over to Mountain House, and that's where I met my drummer JD, John Davidson, and he kind of, we used to do 4 or 5 nights a week, open jam nights and weekend bands, and he was trying to get me to come over to Livermore for about a year. Now I play 4 or 5 nights a week, and on Sunday, we did Sunday at Mountain House for 4 years, and then at the end of that, Mondays and Tuesdays were my day off, and it's like the last thing I wanted to do was go out and be in a bar and party and play music. So he's like, come on up here, let's go up here and check this town out, and a year later I finally did it, went over there, and then been over at our place in Livermore ever since. Yes,
you do a fabulous job. I'm gonna roll back a little bit. Okay. You played in a band in Redding also?
In Redding, I was a band called Hella with Ben Lockhart.
Okay. Yeah. And that was like a metal band, or was it basically like Pantera?
It was 80s, 90s rock though. Pantera and the heavier stuff is more of my originals. You know, I don't really go out and play that too much. It's mostly dance rock and stuff like that. So
you were, let's just say, so what influences you when you say you write? And I know how I write, with Blue Voodoo. So when you write, what inspires you, influences you to do your own personal writing? What is it?
It's just a feeling I had inside me ever since I learned how to be a musician and understood more of it and being in multiple bands. And you just kind of get some things in your head and they just kind of start ringing there. Then you just kind of pick up a guitar and start playing, and oh, there it is. I was like, wow, I guess I am a writer and can make music, and now I've got 20 songs now, originals.
That's beautiful. So I'm going to ask you another question. What key do you like to play in, or does it matter?
My whole life mostly been in E440.
Amen, amen. E.
And some of the songs, they sound a little different if you don't play them a half step down, Guns N' Roses and stuff like that.
It's a great band.
I all my originals were all wrote in E440. That's kind of like where I'm at, what I'm used to.
That's what you're used to.
Sometimes drop D.
Yeah, okay. You're also, I have a picture of you. We're going to put it up after we're done. We'll actually edit it in. I have a great picture of you when we played with you guys, when you were with Jungle Rooster. You have a really great stage presence about yourself. Let me ask you this. What gets Channing Heath ready to go on stage? What does it take?
It's crazy. In the very beginning, I used to be nervous about everything. Same thing with sports. I like to entertain. When I'm out there playing sports, I was also an entertainer. And I kind of brought that to the stage also too. I just want to entertain, not just kind of sit up there and play and look at my instrument and just play and get it done, but let everybody see what's flowing through me. It's hard to stay still on stage nowadays.
Yeah, so when you do that, Is there a feeling that you get that makes you want to do that? Because we all are entertainers, and I like what you said about sports is entertaining, and you transform that over to the stage. You have a real interesting way how you stand and how you present yourself, and I've never heard you sing lead vocals, but I've heard you sing background. I like your vocals. Would you sing lead, or do you have you sang lead, or basically you're just a harmony guy in the background keeping the beat and doing
I haven't had that much experience being a lead vocalist or really tried that much about it. And one time I started doing some backup vocals and everybody says, "Oh, that sounds pretty good, keep doing that." So I kind of worked a little bit more with that, but never really tried to be a lead vocalist, so to speak. And if I did, it would have to be a certain style of music, probably more heavier where I'm used to, and drop D definitely.
Yeah, you'd be doing a drop D, okay. And I like that sound, you know that.
Yeah.
When Channing is away from the stage, we talked earlier a little bit about it, you do a lot of booking. How many bookings, this is an amazing stat, I think. How many bookings have you done in your life?
Bookings, how many shows have I played and performed? I started keeping track in 2005.
Listen to this, I love this, what he's going to tell us.
2005 till now, it's been over 2,200 gigs. Average about 200 a year. Every once in a while, there's about 240. 3, I think, was the most I had one year, and one year I had like 78, but for the most part, it's about 200 a year. Because
you're so experienced in that, how do you keep it all together? Seriously, how do you keep it all together?
Just
to get all these guys, committing to you.
It wasn't easy. It's one thing where you learn through experience, and you just got to remember what happens here and make adjustments for here on out. Same thing with the jam nights. I used to go, I run lots of jam nights, and how I learned was going to other jam nights and seeing what they did and how they did things, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, what I would have done better or different, and that's how I added it to your
repertoire.
Yeah.
So in saying that, there's probably bands that you've probably met, and you don't have to mention them on the air. I don't want them on the air because we don't like to do that. But you probably have met some people that are just totally like irresponsible.
There's good with bad.
Yes.
And everything. And
so how do you handle that? Say if you have a situation where you book a band and they're not really that good, but then you give them another chance, and then they don't show up or whatever. How do you deal with that if somebody wants to come and see you?
You gotta take it with patience, and you can't be irate with them, man. You really gotta talk to them, get into their senses about what they're doing wrong, what they could do to make it better, and just stay sharp. Keep them motivated. Keep all the positive things flowing, and try to get rid of all the negative.
You've in passing, because we've worked together, and you're such a great guy, and I love how we interact. You did a thing. You formed a lot of bands too, haven't you? For jam nights.
Can't even name how many bands that have come through my jam nights and formed, and musicians that have gotten so much better at these jam nights. How there's one guy in particular. His name's we call him Tommy Gunn.
Okay.
Tom Maccabee is his name. He's actually a nuclear physicist, and he comes in here looking just like a nuclear physicist. He had a little Skolnick thing in his pocket and everything, and he's coming playing. He wasn't really all that good, but you've seen the passion that he had inside. He wanted to be good. And a lot of people didn't really want to play with him in the beginning, but he just kept sticking with it and kept coming back, like multiple other ones did. And now everybody wants to play with him. Everybody wants to be on stage with Tommy Gunn. Now he's in a few different bands, and it's just really great to watch musicians blossom.
Of course. That's you got a big heart. I've always respected that. So you talk about bands. How many bands are you in right now, or how many bands are you working with simultaneously, which is another feat of yours?
There for the past few years, there was a moment in time where I was in like 6 different bands, and it was kind of hard when, collaborating all the bands together with everybody who wants to play all the time, and you kind of reduce it down to just 2 right now. And I've mostly been focusing on open jam nights now and forming other bands. I really get a lot of glorification seeing all these bands, get big and have fun.
Like a band that's going to be opening up for us at a show that you're producing, Rockhead.
Yes.
Tell me about those guys. You helped them. I think it's a guitar player, right?
Yeah, he came in one time to a jam night with acoustic, and he had all originals, and he just played by himself. And I just thought he had some really catchy tunes, and it sounded really good. And I said, you know what? I want you to keep coming back to my jam night, and I'm going to play bass with you. I'm going to learn your songs. I'm going to get a drummer to learn your songs. He just was ecstatic about it. And all of a sudden, he come back and it just kind of built him up. And he's like, man, this sounds really good. Then all of a sudden he gets a new guitar player. He starts putting it electric, and now he's going to be opening up for you here.
Yeah, that's a great story. So are you stationed now? Where do you live now? I know you have roots a little bit here. You have a couple roots in Arizona, Las Vegas. Where you're moving around? You move around in that little area. Tell me about that.
It's nice once you just kind of stop doing everything and go all into a situation like being in music. You get a lot of free time to do with this. You know, I'm out of Livermore. I live in Livermore, California. Just recently went to Arizona, Mesa, Arizona, and it's great out there. I like. I've been forming bands out there and doing some jam nights, and
that's so great.
And it's really cool. And Vegas it's great. That's where my baby mama moved to, so I love going to Vegas all the time and playing at all the clubs out there. Vamps is definitely the best place in Vegas to play.
And he's helping us to get in Vamps. Hopefully, we got our fingers crossed on that.
Danny Coker from County Cars, he owns that bar. He's
an
amazing guy. Just as you see him on TV, it's just how he is in person. He is a really nice, laid-back, cool guy. Also from Ohio.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's change it. Let's just go back because I've been a big fan of Ohio State football, Buckeyes.
Yeah,
so you're a Buckeye?
100% a Buckeye.
So you know Tatum and all those gentlemen back in the day that played.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing. I mean, yeah. So have you ever been in the Buckeye Stadium?
Oh, the Horseshoe? Of course.
Look at that, man. I love it, man. I love it. So what do you see yourself? I know you said that you're doing more jam nights. What do you see yourself going to do in the future?
In the future, I just like, I've been focusing more now on originals and writing new music. I kind of done the jam night thing and I hired a bunch of bands and stuff like that, and I just it's kind of burned its course, you know, for the most part. I love being in cover bands and going out and entertaining, but you know, it comes to a point where there's got to be something a little bit more than just that. Then when you start writing into originals and stuff like that, you start getting a little bit different feeling. You feel a bit more better about yourself.
Yes,
and, it takes you in a different path and a better path, I think so too. And Arizona, I'm sorry to interrupt, but out in Arizona, I'm like looking for cover bands. 80% of everybody out there is all original. Nobody even wants to be in. Yeah, they don't even want to be in cover bands.
So what city are you stationed at?
I'm in Mesa.
Oh, you're in Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's an interesting. Is it metal or is it blues rock?
It's a little bit of everything, but I'd have to say primarily metal. It's a little bit heavier and obscure.
So you talk about metal. There's so much. Here's a question. As you know, there is a lot of talent in the Bay Area, or in Livermore especially, in the Tri-Valley area. What is it? Was because the internet changed things, or why isn't guys? A few guys are going on little tours and things like that. Why isn't it that there's not people really, A&R people back in the day we used to call them? Why aren't they looking for this? Or is it just because the scene is a little more older? Or are they waiting for us all to die as dinosaurs?
It's a really tough business we're in here, you know, and the smallest little thing can change somebody's mind from doing something else. You know, you really got to believe in yourself inside, have a vision, and go out there and chase it, go after it. You know, and some of these guys can just be really influenced by the wrong people.
Right.
So I always say influence yourself around people who are positive.
That is the number one thing, is always being positive. So let's go on a thing that you have produced a lot of shows, over 2,000 you said?
2,200 now.
2,200. Let's go on this. Who are some of your favorite local bands that you like to see and just hang out with, and you know, or do you don't have to name them, but I mean, who do you enjoy? I know you're around, but you're a total business guy, and he pays on time. You know, so but what is basically what do you like about the music scene that you're involved in, because you're entrenched in it?
The list is really long. You know, I play 4 or 5 nights a week, so on my nights off, I usually don't get a chance to go out or even want to go out. It's like, hey, you just do it 5 nights a week. Your day off, you just don't want to kick back and do anything. But what I like mostly is seeing the bands that have formed through my jam nights, and then watch them go out and expand and get noticed. That really makes me feel good. There's too many to name.
Yes,
you know, I'd be afraid I'd miss somebody out.
Yeah, they'd say, what is Channing?
I've hired over 200.
What is Gregory and Channing talking about?
I've hired 200 different bands in the past 3 years, and I'll say probably 25 of them formed at my jam nights.
Right.
And stuff
That's
like
amazing. So you're doing jam night, but you also, I've seen some things the other day. There were things that popped up. I forget who popped it up to me. You're doing stuff out in the back too, aren't you? You got a stage in the back. What is that?
Yeah.
Summertime?
When I went away on vacation for Ohio for a little bit, I told them, you know, you're going to make a lot of money. I see all these other bars that have patios out back and outdoor stages. I was like, this is what, you know, something that could really build this bar up that I've been working out of primarily. And I talked to the bar owner. I said, you need to fence this back in, get some chairs and tables out there, get a stage out there, and we're going to make it happen. So literally last year at this time, it was a parking lot.
Yes,
in the back of our
remember,
place. There's a park. We used to drive in there.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, and now you walk out and it's a whole different world. A stage, chairs, horseshoes, cornhole, and
oh, really?
we even got some plants and fake trees out there now to make it look more, you know, homey and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole different world when you walk out in there, and it's good. You know, now everybody wants to come play outside.
It is absolutely
outdoors.
True.
We got barbecues out there. And
Do
stuff
you?
Too. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get voodoo out there. You know, let me ask you this: what is your gear setup, and how do you set up yourself? What do you play on? What is your favorite basses or that you use? Your whole setup. Tell me your setup.
I've always been a BC Rich guy. There's something about, you know, looking at them for once. I just like the appeal of the way it looks. And then I get to playing them, and I think they play nice. You know, really nice. And Ibanez is another good bass too. You can just take an Ibanez and throw it down the stairs, and it's still going to be just fine. It's going to keep ticking on there. I like Harkey bass amps, but you know, there's lots of bass amps that sound good if you dial them out right. You know, have the right speaker cabinets, but. Yeah, it's worth it.
So you're a BC Rich guy.
BC Rich guy.
How many basses do you have, or do you have just a couple?
I have 13 basses and 12 guitars.
Wow. So, you also play guitar then?
I do play guitar. My originals, I play guitar.
Oh, so do you play it? Do you go electric, or do you go
definitely electric with a lot of distortion? Okay. But I also play acoustic too, and yeah, I've written on acoustic guitar too. But.
On stage, what is your favorite instrument? What do you use? You use the BC Rich?
Yeah, BC Rich is my favorite and primary. My primary was I have a Warlock that I've been playing a lot lately. I had a BC Rich Zombie Revenge. That was my favorite. Did over 1,000 shows with that. Now it's just sitting on my wall. It's kind of like an ornament now. I just kind of don't want nothing to happen to it. It's had a lot of history with it, and I just want to keep it there.
It's sort of like, it's your baby.
It's kind of a sad story. That's one thing that got left over for when I got all my equipment stolen. Back in 2014, I had a trailer, and it had everything there. All my PA, bass amp, guitar amp, everything, lights, guitars, and woke up the next day, looked outside, and the trailer was just gone. They just took the whole trailer. And crazy enough, I had such a big following and all these nice people, they had a benefit for me at one of my jam nights, and we built up all this money, and all of a sudden I got all this new equipment, and I'm back on, back in business again. On it. Because all my fans and friends and people who really care and see about what I do for everybody else, and they helped me out big time. Within 1 week, I had everything, if not even better equipment than I had before. But my one favorite bass was just the one thing that wasn't in that trailer. Ironically, I had to learn some new songs that day. I took the bass out of the trailer and had it inside with me, and there's a lot of history with that bass.
Wow, so that's an amazing story that you got, and then you came back, and now you have what you have. So the setup, when you're at our place is your place still, right?
That's my primary.
That's your primary.
Yeah.
So when bands come in, just so that people know, because they don't know how it all, that is all your gear. That's your setup.
Absolutely, the whole everything is in my setup. I have my own drum set, but I do have JD, who I was talking about earlier. He's like my right hand man. You know, it's good to have a right hand man in this business, and he brings his own drum set, so it's one less thing I have to set up and tear down. That helps out a lot, and we let everybody use all our equipment and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's all mine. Everything's mine.
So why, here's the thing I'd like to ask you too. Why can't our place, or maybe they can't, maybe you can't, why can't you do a festival of some sort, like a 2-day festival, or put like 4 bands together or 5 bands together in a day, or whatever? Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
We can do that, and we have done that.
Oh, really?
We have a group in town called 2-Day Town, and they come in and they take the whole weekend. They take Friday, Saturday, even part of Sunday, where they have different multiple bands each day, and yeah, they're really great for the bar. Good people, been doing it a long time, and yeah, and we're more than welcome to do it again. We can have our own little
have our own little. So
festival.
you're not in any band right now. You're not playing with anybody except locally. I mean, I should say.
I'm in Grid right now at the moment.
Okay.
But I got rid of all the other bands and got other bass players for the bands because I was too busy, and I wanted to take off and down to Mesa and start new projects down there. I've been gone, so.
And you like going to Vegas, the Vamp?
I love Vegas. Vegas is great. It's a lot of fun. It's a whole different world there.
It is a
you know,
whole
and
different world.
Vamps is just a great place, great setup, and there's other bars there too that are nice.
But
yeah.
Vamp is really the one.
Vamps is just
Yeah,
very
that's the
awesome.
one. Yeah, a lot of my friends have played there, and they go, Greg, you got to get your band.
There's
there.
really good
Also, lo
bands there on the
behold, you
weekends
did.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Tribute bands and big name bands.
So, you know, as we finish up this interview, first of all, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Dude, you're an asset to the music scene that we live in.
Thank you.
Oh, dude, you do so much work. So what we normally do, we look in the center right in here, Channing, and I want to thank everybody for watching our show, making our show one of the most popular shows in the United States. We are worldwide. We're getting ready to go on Apple TV. Apple TV is going to pick us up. You can see us on the web. You can go to YouTube. We have our own YouTube. You go to Gregory Harmonics, Gregory Correa, and you can see all the shows that we have. We're still backfilling some of the new ones. But I really want to thank this man right here, Channing. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
My pleasure.
Dude,
It's
you're
been great.
yeah, man. You're like the music guy that is just, you respond, and I like how you do business. So what we do, we look in the camera, and we throw out a kiss to all our friends and peace and love. And so if you want to do that with me, you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Peace and love to you. You got to say anything to your little girl?
I love you, Laura. We'll see you soon.
Peace.